Hello everyone, welcome once again to Investing with a Difference. So we did a very important update last time. We talked about quite a few things, especially the big announcement about EOS user agreement getting passed. Now I'm going to continue today like quite a bit of a discussion where we left off. So if you have not watched our last video here 1 week ago, do watch it from my views so that you can understand the perspective. But of course, we'll talk about some important actions to take, and let's first start with the markets. So last time we reviewed, as you remember, we have been tracking this breakout, and there have been a couple of breakouts here. So let me just close these ads. So there have been a couple of breakouts. So we talked about this 2019 breakout, which happened around the $4,000 mark. But now, what I have been noticing is which we missed out. I had not been tracking this trend line from all the way from March 2018. Again, I'm using a logarithmic chart, and we had broken out around $5,000 mark, and we did discuss this, that it is consolidating here. This was a huge candle, and we never saw a drop after that. So this looks a very promising sign. I don't think this has happened in a long time. The only promising time when it really happened was around July of last year, when we were looking for this very good up move, but we came back very fast. So of course we are not completely out of the bear market yet. The good news here is we are trending above this trend line, which is very close to the 200-day moving average. This blue line is the 200-day moving average. So, and the next thing which I wanted to show you is this area of resistance we are seeing around $5,400 mark. This is getting hit so many times intraday. If you see here, there are like quite a few times when it has come close in last few days, and today again it's looking very promising. I think this is one of the very good move happening right now. As we are talking, it's like $5,410, and by the time this video is posted, I won't be surprised if we shoot up again. Now what is critical to note is this red line which I have been tracking, and ultimately we will hit this $5,800 mark, which has been the base for 2018, where we spent a lot of time bouncing back from, and when we broke down. I think this is a very important psychological mark, and for that matter, if we ever in next few days get into the $6,000 mark, I think we will be hitting all those stop losses for the people who have been shorting all through 2018. And also psychologically, I think it's very important when people start seeing going above those lows which we had maintained last year, and a lot of people got hurt when we had broken down here. So anyway, I think it's looking promising. A lot of positive news flowing on BTC front. Let's have a quick look. I think EOS has taken a breather. I always look at it from a Bitcoin perspective. So let's see. I have not extended this line, so we have kind of flirting with the breaking down below this trend line. Remember, this is a very steep trend line, so it's not necessary that the trend will be as steep as it has been against Bitcoin. We are very clearly above 200-day moving average. In worst case, we can have a relative fall. As you know that if Bitcoin starts rallying, there's a big chance that altcoins for short moment drop very fast against Bitcoin. So this is possible. So from an EOS versus Bitcoin chart perspective, it's not super exciting right now as it was a few days back, and it's taking a breather. I hope that it sustains this trend line. If not, I'm looking at a support around 81k Satoshi, 82k Satoshi, and this is upward moving line. So the longer it sustains here, I think we will have better conditions. But again, it all depends on what is the US dollar variation. If the Bitcoin really breaks out above $6,000 momentarily, I won't be surprised if EOS slips below versus Bitcoin while maintaining above $5 mark. So let's have a quick look on the US dollar chart. I have not looked at it for a very long time, but I think this is looking very stable. It's looking very stable. Around definitely $5 is a psychologically very important mark. If you see here, we spent a lot of time in 2018 in this $5 to $6 range. So a lot of accumulation here, and now I think the volumes were big when we broke out recently. So from a US dollar perspective, we may end up sustaining above $5 if Bitcoin breaks out. But as I said, it's a relative valuation proposition which has been very, very steep move up. I'm not sure if this is going to sustain based on this attempted breakdown below this trend line. So let's now look at the news. I think, as I said, I was talking about a few areas which I wanted to touch upon. The big things happening in EOS world. We had talked about EOS user agreement, why it is important in the last video, and the reason it is more important. And now that all these referendums, if you look at this EOS authority page where they track all the polls, let me remind you that EOS user agreement was not even in the top. It was 1.754% voted referendum, and this was put on multisig as an experiment, and it was approved by block producers. Now it's moreover, now all the previous conditions which were there in the interim constitution, they are not valid anymore. Now this sets a precedence, and I talked about it in the previous video. This sets a precedence that you can now approve most of these changes which are voted by people in the referendums or the polls, and these are on chain. These are like DPoS is all about the token holders vote with their weight of the vote. Like if you own more tokens, you can vote more, and the people who are not participating in these polls, they cannot say anything because it's their choice that they decided not to participate. And of course everybody has a voice, because you can go on chain anonymously just with your EOS account name. Nobody knows who that account name belongs to, and you can vote yes or no. But if 99.2% of actual participant voted, then block producers went ahead and approved it. So this is a great way. I think what we've realized is that usually in democracies the voting is very not very high in many places, but in this case the option is there for everybody to vote. It doesn't take much time, so if they decide not to vote, why should we wait for that thresholds? But anyway, now under the new EOS user agreement, there's no such threshold of 15%. There's not even a mention of referendums and so on. So basically, as I understand, maybe I'm missing something, so I will look at it again. But basic idea is now block producers can just look at this indication on the referendums, whether people are really excited about something, like 99.2% for REX for all. Now remember, this is not about REX. This is about what is the earnings in the REX. So this proposal, I think some people have misinterpreted as you need to have this proposal passed, REX for all, for enabling REX. So REX can be enabled without any referendum, but that is only lending, leasing tokens and the earnings from that. What this proposal is saying is you can get RAM fee and names fee, which is not an inflation. This is part of the system level fees, which can be allocated as a reward for REX for leasing your token out. Now this makes it even cheaper for dApps to lease, like to borrow tokens, for borrow bandwidth, because the people who are providing liquidity in the REX, they are already getting some reward from RAM fee and EOS names fee. And this is actually a great way of enabling this. Some people are trying to highlight that, oh, this is additional inflation. So I disagree with that, because this proposal is very important to reward. It will not be huge amount, let me remind you. So of course, if you're a voter, and if right now we have only around 20% or 25% people voting out of the total tokens, I think if those people continue to be the same and not more people are not getting in, then you are actually rewarding those token holders who are voting. And this is important, I think, to really make the DPoS stronger. But either way, I think what I'm trying to highlight here is this can pass now. REX is already in process, but beyond that, the RAM fee and the names fee can be added to REX now, even without 15% threshold. And same way, I think this is already taken care of. EOS delete EOS core in arbitration forum. This is already included in EOS user agreement, because there is no mention of ECAF, and ECAF was only ever part of the organization. It was never in the code. It was only part of the interim constitution. Now that the interim constitution goes away, this is already enacted. So referendums are already working. You already have number 2 and number 3 top referendum, which is already passed on chain and implemented. Now we are talking about one of the important ones which I'm tracking right now is the reduce the inflation rate. So as you know that there is a 4% inflation getting accumulated in savings. We did talk about it in previous videos. Right now what I'm trying to highlight is we are going very aggressively after this. We are asking every block producer to go out and vote for yes or no. As a proxy, of course, our view is that everybody should vote for it, and we definitely recommend voting yes, because we don't like the idea of collecting these funds which can be an attack vector. Already there are 34 million EOS, which amounts to a pretty huge sum at today's price of over $5, and as this continues accumulating, this can be an attack vector for somebody to go and create, like at least in the top 21 BPs, to start leaking these funds at some point, especially because now everything can be approved at 15 by 21 block producer level. So it's even more important that we do not keep this honeypot out there. Now, interestingly, same way we discussed about the support for EOS user agreement, this proposal has the votes, like yes votes, 99.9%. So hardly anybody who has voted is saying no and is not voting against it. So it's a very, very good chance, I think, when this goes on chain with BPs, and once we push BPs to take a stand as a proxy, as the voters, I hope that this gets approved, and this will be huge news, because that means that you are reducing the actual annual inflation by 1/5, and this has not happened in many other projects. Like, nobody has really gone after cutting the inflation. Effectively, yes, it's more of a symbolic thing. I don't think it matters that much in real world, because anyway these tokens are locked. But for me, it is more important that the message will be clear that we don't want to have this additional inflation. EOS is progressing already very well, and we don't need these additional funds. In addition, I think EOS New York has come out with another idea of a DApp funded kind of activities, where it can be voluntary donations for this kind of proposal, or the people who are going to use the chain or use these services which BPs can develop or provide. And there are a lot of other ways this can be monetized. You don't need to add inflation to that. So either way, I think this is something which we will track very closely. More and more referendum and polls now make sense, because we are talking about how this the new DPoS is evolving on EOS after the EOS user agreement being passed. Now, one more thing is Rex. I think a lot of people keep asking. So the update has been, so it's a very complicated change. Remember, Rex means changing the system contract in a very big way. You're talking about the whole staking mechanism, how the Rex. It's a very, very core change in EOS, and this is something which will take time. But I think the good news is that a lot of testing has been completed by EOS Authority. They did a great job of testing it on test nets. They've already deployed first stage. Now the second stage had some issues which are being resolved now with the help of Block One, and we are hearing that very soon, after the more testing is completed, they will go ahead with the second step. And then I believe the third step should be of what will be like the fee going into it and so on. And I hope that Rex for all is agreed upon by that time by block producers, and I hope that the way Block One had designed, I think Dan has already added this in the code, that you can use the RAM fee and the name fee as the Rex rewards. So I hope that happens. I think we are waiting for it, as all of us are. But let me remind you, this is not going to be life changing. It's not going to be like huge returns on like if you just lease your tokens. It's more of a symbolic appreciation for voters, and that's what matters. Now, I will try to conclude this today. We will come back with a lot more updates, but one final note: if you have not claimed your PEOS tokens, please do so. Again, this is the privacy model on top of EOS. It's on the mainnet. This coin is for sending transactions privately. Again, there is no real product here yet. It's still a white paper. A lot of people are getting involved in this, though. I see a lot of excitement in the community about this feature. I will be tracking it closely. As of today, I have not seen any real effort. The reason I want you to claim it, though, is it's getting a lot of attention. And if you look at NewDex pricing of PEOS, it's already at 3 cents, which is not bad for every EOS you hold if you got 1 PEOS, if I mean it was a 15th February snapshot. Now for that you're getting a 3 cent return, and on 15th February I believe we were below $3, so it's like almost more than 1% return. So do not miss out on that. If you have already not claimed it, you can simply claim it by signing in with Scatter or something, and just sending one token, 1 PEOS, or even 0.1 PEOS to one another. So as long as you make a transaction with this token, you are claiming that and it will be with you. Even if you don't believe in the project, there's no harm in claiming and selling it off. It's not a bad token, based on the kind of excitement I'm seeing in the community, and based on this whole like the token price itself. Again, I won't speculate whether it's worth 3 cents or less or more. It is still in early days. We are still waiting for real product to be even the code to be written, for the MVP to come out. It's just an idea at this moment, but the excitement is huge, so I wanted to remind everybody. So these are some of the things we wanted to cover, and we will be back maybe with more updates this week. Hopefully I will have more time to do these videos, but I wanted to share my opinions because these are a lot of exciting things happening in EOS, and we will bring back a lot more details to you on projects in the next update. But today I wanted to focus on the thought train which we started with, on what this EOS user agreement means, what is where we are with Rex, and specifically how this is really enabling the DPoS and making this very, very strong model. And most importantly, now your vote matters even more, because now it's not a matter of reaching 15% on referendum. Now it matters a lot on who are the top 15 block producers. Do not ignore this. Start participating in voting. And with Rex, it will become even more important, because you will not get Rex if you're not voting. So remember that Rex is almost here. Referendums are working. BPs are actually taking actions on chain. And this is something which we as a token holder, I don't think any other chain allows this, to go about changing the way we operate. And like all of these, like whether you talk about Bitcoin, you have so much forking, so much of fights. Here in EOS, we are talking about token holders making decisions, everybody taking the majority decision and moving along. There is no discussion of forks. There is no discussion of creating a parallel chain with a different governance. Of course, there are sister chains, but those are not EOS forks. Those are completely new chain using EOS.io. So do not confuse that. But what I'm trying to highlight here is this is a big example on how a governed chain should look like, and how DPoS is so effective, where token holders are really deciding what happens. And you can actually go and replace these BPs, and hopefully with Rex coming in next few days, we will see much more balance of power, with big whales getting balanced out by more and more people coming out and voting just to get those token rewards. I know a lot of people have been questioning whether Rex will be successful, because the token rewards are maybe very low yield. But it's all about, like I have seen this, like when we talked about Games EOS and Start EOS offering rewards as a BP reward to the token holders and getting so many votes. I think even that token reward, when you just get for taking an action on chain, but it is at a system level, it makes a huge difference, and I hope that happens. But irrespective, I think we are moving in the right direction. A lot of progress is happening, and in the next of our series, we will bring back more news on dApps. So watch out for that, and we will be covering how exciting EOS world is becoming. So thanks a lot for joining again. Do send us your feedback, and do not forget to refresh your proxies. Do not forget to keep taking part in these referendums. If you're proxying with us, we are voting on all the important referendums, and we will keep updating you on our stand on that. Thank you. Bye-bye.